Hi, for those who don't know me yet, I'm Yotam. I'm a developer advocate at AI21 Labs. I'm part of the team behind the AI21 Studio, which is the platform that serves the state-of-the-art Jurassic 2 models, which you're all working with in this hackathon, I hope. I'm thrilled to have so many talented and passionate generative AI enthusiasts from all over the world joining us for this event. We've been preparing for it for quite a time, and now that it's already started and going, I can't express enough how excited I am to see what everyone will come up with. So let's begin, shall we? As this big title here suggests, I will cover some of the characteristics of an outstanding project. But before I start this workshop, I want to take a moment to talk about creativity and innovation. As developers, we often get caught up in day-to-day work or study of building or maintaining the systems that we're working on. But in my perspective, hackathons like this are a great opportunity to break out of the mold and think outside the box. And when deciding on the concept of the project, for those who still trying to wrap their heads around what they're trying to build in this hackathon, I encourage you to expand your horizons and push the boundaries of what you think is possible. This hackathon is all about generative AI, and I believe that we can all agree that this technology has the potential and it already is revolutionizing the way that we interact with machines and the way that we see the world, the way that we work, the way that we do pretty much everything. So this is your time to shine. So with that being said, don't don't be afraid to think big. The possibilities are probably endless, and I can't wait to see what you're all going to come up with. So I will be discussing what sets truly great projects apart from the rest. We'll be exploring the key components that make up the foundation for a successful project. I like to call these components the pillars of a great project, and they include four pieces. The first one is innovative concept. The first pillar of an outstanding project is a unique and imaginative idea. We'll discuss some of the ways that Jurassic 2 models can be used to bring fresh and innovative concepts to life. Another thing is that the project should definitely be useful. And that's the second pillar of a great project, its ability to address real-world issues or pain points. And we'll see how you can use some of your technical skills to make a real impact in people's lives by solving real problems, relieving real pain, or even just enhancing an existing functionality. The third pillar is a beautiful code, and a beautiful code is well-structured and readable. It is important for developers to be able to understand and maintain the code base that they're working on easily, and for those who are also reviewing the project. And documentation. Documentation that is well written for developers as well as for the end users. The final pillar of a great project is the documentation, which should be clear, concise, and easy to understand for both developers and the people who will use the app or the project gradually. And with these four pillars in mind, we'll explore ways to bring your ideas and take their projects to the next level. So let's begin by diving into the first two pillars. When it comes to creating a project for this hackathon, it's important to remember that a truly outstanding project starts with a unique and imaginative idea. But coming up with an idea is sometimes, easier said than done. So here are some things to keep in mind as you brainstorm and come up with your concept for the project. First, let's talk about the things you should avoid. One big pitfall to watch out for is building another version of an existing product or feature. Unless you have a truly unique twist on some idea or a plan to recreate it in a very different way, it's best to come up with something new and original. My advice here is do some research and make sure that your idea hasn't already been built by someone else before you. Another thing to avoid when coming up with an idea for your project is trying to tackle too many things at once. It's easy to get excited about all the possibilities that large language models offer and want to include everything in your project. But trying to do too many things at once can make your project feel scattered, disjointed. Instead, focus on one or two, even three key features or ideas and do them well. By narrowing your focus, you'll be able to create a project that is more polished and cohesive. And additionally, by focusing on a smaller set of features, you'll be able to iterate and improve on them more effectively rather than spreading yourself too thin. And with that being said, don't hesitate to think big. Remember, even if you only manage to submit a minimum viable product, an MVP, that's okay. You can always come back and complete the missing pieces after the hackathon is done. Just like, for example, Twitter started as a hackathon MVP. They started really small, just tweets. Then they build up the whole platform around it. Now let's talk about some things you should keep in mind when coming up with your idea. One thing that's helpful is to brainstorm with your team. Share your fields of interest and try to combine them with those of your teammates when choosing the theme or the topic of your project. Be on the same page. When everyone in the team is passionate about a chosen project, it makes the project much more enjoyable to work on, from my experience. Another key in creating a successful project is conduct a thorough research on your chosen theme or subject and to plan ahead. What I mean is just take your time to really think about the project from all angles, including identifying potential obstacles or challenges that you might encounter during the development process itself. This can include things like researching industry trends, best practices, understanding the target audience, the target users, and their needs, identifying technical limitations and requirements, and anything that can come up as an obstacle down the road. Just think ahead. And when developing your project, it's important to consider the end user's perspective. As you progress in your planning and development, take the time to ask yourself if the final product you'll be presenting eventually is something new, refreshing, or surprising from the end user's point of view. This will help you to ensure that your project not only solves a problem or enhances a functionality, but also provides an exciting and unique experience for the end user. In summary, when creating a project for this hackathon, be creative, think big and unique, do your research, and think from an end user perspective. It is important to avoid doing something that's been done before and to make sure that you're solving a real problem or a pain point. And with these tips in mind, I'm confident you'll come up with something truly outstanding. I forgot to click the consider end user perspective. Sorry, but remember that part also. I just talked about it. All right. So let's talk about some real world application. We'll start with AI Dungeon. AI Dungeon is a great example of how powerful language models can be when it comes to creating innovative and engaging experiences. The use of Jurassic models allowed this game to generate endless plots, characters, and stories, making each playthrough a unique and exciting. The game's creators, Latitude, have found ways to harness the capabilities of AI21 Studio to create a text-based adventure game experience that is truly one of a kind. Let me just slow down the pace here. Playback speed, let's do it on 0.5 just so you can try to follow up on the video and the things that I say at the same time. So one of the key elements that makes AI Dungeon stand out is that it's not just a fun game, but it also addresses a real problem. Many text-based adventures, or how we used to call them D&D adventures, the players of this game find it difficult to come up with new stories and ideas for their games. AI Dungeon solves this problem by providing an endless source inspiration and plot twists. Endless. Another important aspect of AI Dungeon is that it reveals a real pain, or relieves a real pain. Playing text-based adventures game can be a lot of fun, but it also requires a lot of preparation and organization. AI Dungeon takes care of all that behind-the-scene work, allowing players to focus on what really matters, the story and the characters. Overall, AI Dungeon is an outstanding project that demonstrates how language models can be used to create innovative and engaging experiences. It is a great example of how innovative concepts, solving real problems, relieving real pains, and enhancing existing functionality, in this case, the old school D&D games, can be led to a great project. And one more thing to notice, Latitude, the creators of AI Dungeon, also founded as a hackathon team. All right, let's talk about Verb. For those who don't know it, Verb is another great example of how large language models can be used in an application to relieve a real pain, and in this case, writer's block. The team behind this clever let's start running. Okay, just so you can see, get the hang of it in the background. The team behind this clever online service identified the need for a tool that can help writers overcome writer's block and came up with Verb. By incorporating the Jurassic models, the tool is able to generate new ideas and suggestions for writers, providing them with inspiration and fresh perspective. One of the key features of Verb is its ability to understand the context and tone of a piece of writing. This allows the tool to generate ideas that are relevant and fitting for a specific project a writer is working on. This feature is one of the most significant advantages of using Jurassic models, as they can understand and generate text that is coherent and consistent with a given context. Another unique aspect of Verb is that it can provide suggestions for different types of writing. I don't know if they already saw it in the video or not, but um, but but types of writing such as fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. You just start writing and Verb continues you from where you stopped. This versatility makes it a valuable tool for writers of all genres and styles. And Verb is a great example of how large language models can be used to elevate a real pain. It helps writers overcome the writer's block by providing them with inspiration, fresh ideas. The team behind this tool identified a need and came up with a clever solution that utilizes the capabilities of Jurassic models. In my perspective, it's a great example of an innovative concept that solves a real pain, enhances an existing functionality in a way, in this case, writing, and eventually they led to a great project. Next one in line that I want to show you is Coach Me. Coach Me is a really special project. It was created by Harambee and is a smart chatbot that uses AI21 Studios Jurassic models to help young adults in South Africa to prepare for job interviews and land their first job. This chatbot was developed to address the issue of unemployment among young South Africans and to bridge the gap between unemployed individuals with no experience and perfectly trainable and employable individuals. The chatbot that called Coach Me was designed to provide a conversation-based learning experience that uses evidence-based techniques. I know it's a lot of words. It uses conversation with the user to understand its behavior changes and to prepare it for their first job interview. One of the key features of Coach Me is its ability to understand the context of each conversation, build trust with the individuals, and respond naturally, guiding them towards their career goals. This feature is made possible by the use of AI21 Studio Jurassic 2 models in this case, which can understand and generate text that is coherent and consistent with a given context. Coach Me was developed as a solution to the problem of unemployment among young South Africans during the pandemic, when face-to-face processes were not possible anymore. The chatbot helped Harambee to increase the conversion rate by 20%, this is a crazy number, in signups, by creating a new virtual onboarding process that was low touch yet incredibly authentic. In conclusion, Coach Me is another great example of how large language models can be used to elevate a real pain, in this case, unemployment among young adults. It is a clever solution that utilizes the capabilities of Jurassic 2 models to provide personalized, conversation-based learning experience that guides individuals towards their career goals. It demonstrates it demonstrates drastically how innovative concepts that solve real problem and enhancing an existing functionality lead to a great project. All right. From the examples, let's talk a little bit about what makes a great project in this hackathon. And I'm going to show you a mediocre project that we made here at AI21 Labs. No, I'm just kidding. It's not mediocre. It's wonderful. It's the Rick and Morty episode generator, and I'll need to switch window here because I want to show you. I want to show you the live version. All right. So, for those who don't know, Rick and Morty, it's an animation. It's an animated show about a crazy scientist and his grandson. They go off to adventures in other dimensions and in space. It's very funny. It's a little dark. It's a little kinky. And we love this show so much so that we decided to harness our models, the Jurassic 2 models, to create titles for made up Rick and Morty episodes, not real ones. And based on the title, let's just see how it works. So the first time that I click the generate title, the model just generates a made up title for a Rick and Morty episode. This time it decided to call it Jerry Commandments. Now, based on this title, we're calling the model again and ask it to generate a plot for a made-up plot for a made-up episode, just based on the name of the episode that the model just created itself. So when I press the generate plot, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we're seeing the whole text here. The model just suggests a plot for the episode. And based on the plot, for those who do know the show, you know that after the credits in the end of the episode, you get like another post credit scene. So we created that too, and it's based on the plot itself. So what we created here is an app that uses the Jurassic 2 models for three requests. First, to create a made-up title for a Rick and Morty episode. Then the second title creates the plot. Then not the second model, the second request, and then the third request generates the end scene. And I want to show you the code behind. I'm not going to talk about how we use the API because you have all the time and you have us as mentors on Discord. If you need help, you can use the AI21 documentation. But what I do want to show you here is what we consider good code and bad code. We intentionally used both lousy code and great code in this repository, so you can take some advice on what we consider great code versus the other one. So take this. Can my code be seen correctly on the screen? Should I?
Not now.
Yeah, it's
Probably not visible right now.
not
We see just
visible.
we see just your browser and Windows in your
Oh,
browser.
oh, so all this time my browser was shown. Okay, all right. Okay, but you did see this part, right?
Yeah, we do see right
Okay,
now.
great. So I think I need to, because I want to show my Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing again. Sorry about the hiccup, everyone. Share a screen. Okay. Now my Okay.
Oh,
Now my Visual Studio Code is on.
yes.
Okay, great. So, as I mentioned, I want to just give two examples of what we consider good code and bad code. This is an example of bad code. Why? First of all, I see no comments here. I see names of functions, and I don't really understand what they're doing. No comments at all. I see repetitive code. This is the same component again and again and again, and it's probably not reusable. So these are just a few examples of what bad code is. Bad code is a little unreadable. It has no clue for people who haven't wrote this code themselves to understand what they're seeing. And on this file, you can see an example of what we consider good code. First of all, the usage of up-to-date methods in this specific example, we used React with hooks and functional components. That's up to date. It makes sense. We name the variables and the functions in self-explanatory names, so everyone who sees it can immediately understand that use and scene generator is exactly what this function does. We use comments all over the place. So if I'm checking out this code for the first time, I can see it and immediately understand what I'm seeing. I'm using some DevTool help. I'm using, in this case, Consulog, just so if I'm debugging, it will be easier for me to debug. So a few ideas of what we consider bad code versus good code. I'll return to my browser now, but I think I'll probably need to stop sharing and start sharing again. Okay. Another thing I want to show here is the Rick and Morty episode generator repository. Let's go to the main page. I encourage all of you to check out this repository. You can even clone this repository and start building your project upon it. You can get examples of API requests there and see the way that we use them, the way that we use the parameters for each API. And this can also give you a general idea of what we expect in each project. So, for example, documentation. This is a very simple documentation that just explained to the user how to start using the app, and later on a few details about the functions, about the properties that we're using. I'm not saying that any documentation should look exactly like this, but this can give you a head start. Another even greater example of documentation that I encourage all of you to go and see is the one that LangChain created. You can just find it by searching for LangChain on GitHub or on Google. You'll find it. This is a beautiful documentation that explains exactly what's going on in this project, all the pieces in it, how to get to the external documentation, how to use each part, what is it about, how to contribute, how does it help, what can be changed, everything in a one-pager documentation. This is an A+ documentation for me. So I just wanted to show this. Let's get back to let's get back here. All right. The presentation is back on, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, great. So I already took a lot of your time, so I'll try to wrap it up. Okay, so this is just another example of this is an example of how you can combine several models together. You're not obligated to use just the Jurassic 2 models in this hackathon. If you want to combine it with Ability AI or with Midjourney because you want to create some visuals for your project, that's absolutely okay. In this example, we took one plot that our Rick and Morty episode generator created and just fed it to Midjourney and asked it to create pictures about this random episode that the Jurassic 2 created. All right. We talked about how to maintain a beautiful code base. If you have more questions about what we consider good code, or you have questions about how to build your own code, I encourage you to just to approach us and ask. We will give you all the answers that we have, and eventually, if you'll have good code presented with your project, that it will affect our review on it. Same about writing a wonderful documentation. You know, the documentation should be clear, concise, and easy to understand. It should include information on how to install and set up the project, how to use it, and any no limitations or bugs. If you have that, that's enough. All right, so let's wrap it up now. So in conclusion, building a great project starts with a unique and imaginative idea, but it doesn't stop here. The key components that make up the foundation of a successful project are an innovative concept, usefulness, beautiful and readable code, and well-written documentation. Remember to think outside the box, embrace the spirit of creativity and innovation, and push the boundaries of what you think is possible. Keep in mind that the possibilities of generative AI are endless, and the goal of this hackathon is to showcase the potential of the technology. So as you begin brainstorming, or if you already started working on your projects, keep in mind the importance of addressing a real-world issue, or relieving a real pain point, or enhancing an existing functionality. And make sure that your code is well structured, readable, and up to date with the latest technologies. And don't forget about the documentation. It is crucial.